and welcome. Today is another day where we talk about leadership and governance. On your governance today, where we bring you issues around politics, around what's happening with the build up to the election, and how Nigerians are getting set to see a new leadership come into power, if possible, depending on the votes of Nigerians or the electorate, if I may say. This is your program, Governance Today. I am Anita Patrick. As we always do it, we will be looking at issues around governance and leadership, and the program comes your way every weekday. Don't forget that. But today on the program, we will have a guest who will be talking to us on some issues around governance and participation of gender. And I have the national coordinator of Women Alive Foundation. She is Chief Mrs. Patricia Onoja. Good evening, ma.
Thank you. Good evening.
Okay, it's good to have you on set today.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, I just mentioned the fact that you're the national coordinator of Women Alive Foundation. Let me throw it to you, an organization that advocates for good governance and gender friendliness. Well, how would you look at the whole issue around gender friendliness with women participation in Nigerians' governance today?
Anita, I will honestly tell you that it is most disheartening that the women that build the nations are kept away from the happenings in governance. If you look at it today, we have just one female minister in this administration. The other minister, the Minister for Women Affairs, she resigned. She has not been replaced until now. I won't be surprised even if they put a man as Minister of Women Affairs, because this government is not gender friendly at all. I don't think they believe that the women can do what women should do. Recently we were told that the women belong to the other room, and that's what the government is doing. The government is not friendly, gender friendly at all.
That's quite I don't know the phrase to use right now, but this particular government have been talking so much about going to involve women, going to involve youth, and right now you're saying it doesn't look like it at all. What could be the issues around us?
If you look at it, you see, there is so much talk and little action. It is so easy to promise, I will do it. It is so difficult to fulfill the promise of doing it. If I ask you now that in all the states of the Federation, if you go around, how many governors do we have in governance? There is none. A few states we have female deputies. What are their roles? What responsibilities are being given to them? They are almost always kept behind the scene. So you hardly even hear about them. You hardly know them. If I ask you now to mention the female deputy governors, you may never be able to mention them because they are kept completely out of governance. What roles are given to them? They hardly give them roles that they will do, that people will project the women. And if you look at commissioners in the states, how many commissioners do we have as female commissioners? Most times it is the male commissioners. There may be women affairs, they put one female there, and that is it. We are having challenges. This administration in particular is not female, it's not gender friendly.
Huh. Okay, I know so much has been said about women, that 5% affirmative action. I love the fact that you're smiling. what is, how well has it been implemented? Because you've mentioned the fact that nothing is happening with women, and women are kept in the shadows.
It is not me, it is the government that has said nothing is happening, because the government have just one female minister. That goes to tell, is that 35%? The 35% affirmation was good in the days of the previous administration of Goodluck Jonathan. In all sincerity, we had so many women, even in key positions, and the women did very well. Even the Obi Okwesili that is even contesting now for presidential candidacy, Obi was one of the female ministers. Look at Okonjo-Iweala, look at Stella Odua. So many women were put in place, and that was clear for everybody to see. Yes, there was the 35 affirmation, but presently, are we going to say that one minister makes the 35% affirmation? No, we have just one female minister. Anywhere I go, I tell people, people. This government belongs to the men, and that is why we are having so many challenges. That is why it's so difficult to rule. That is why it's so difficult to find the right connection between the masses, the people, the youth, the women, and everybody, because there are no people to guide them. No, women are people that build nations. Women are people that guide their husbands. Women are people that carry the nations in their stomach. So they know the pains, they know the areas of shortcomings, they are quick to advise. But because we don't have women, look at the situation we have today.
So would we
It's
say,
pathetic.
would we, would we say that lack of women in governance today is one of the reasons why we have deadlocks to a lot of issues?
Definitely. It's one of the reasons.
So what would have been different if we have an Okonjo-Iweala, like you mentioned, in this administration? Would something be different politically for offices for women?
A lot will be different. A lot. A lot in the sense that the men are hasty to act. The women are slow. And the reason for this is because they analyze. They take their time. Every woman, look at a budget in the house, for example. Maybe your budget before now was 50,000 naira a week, for example. And then suddenly with this economic situation we have in the country now, your budget is reduced to 25,000 naira. A woman will sit down and plan it properly and will be able to execute it properly, and the husband and the children will still eat in the house and may eat not exactly as well as they would have eaten with 50,000 naira, but they will eat well, and at least they will have the 3 square meal. A man can never plan that. It is also like that with governance. It's also like that with the nation.
Okay, I know when women come together to talk about leadership or talk about governance for women participation, I've been to forums where women had to speak. Looking at the African continent, where does Nigeria stand in the issue of women in governance?
I was reading a few days ago. I can't remember the country now. I wish I do. Where a newly elected president decided to appoint 50% women and 50% men in his cabinet. And I said, wow, an African country. This is the beginning of great things to happen in Africa. If you ask where Nigeria stands, without women and the way we are going, the chances of Nigeria standing tall, forget about being the giant of Africa. We've heard that again and again. Are we really the giant of Africa? Giant in economics, giant in management of our resources, giant in what area? I think we have lost that position long before now with the level of poverty we have and all that. So if you ask me where Nigeria stands without women in governance, we stand low and not high.
Okay. Well, we've been talking about women participation in governance and how well Nigeria is faring with a 35% affirmative action. And my guest has been Chief Mrs. Patricia Onoja, the National Coordinator of Women Alive Foundation. I'm still going to throw this back to you, ma. Looking at the campaigns with the build up to the election, how have women come out for you? Are women looking at for a different game?
Yeah, I think we're having the best of time with women. The voting population of women is about 52%. And then if you look at it, most times that 52%, we may not get exactly the 52% voting, but you will get at least 40% of women voting. Not only that you will get the 40% of women voting, you will get them ready to defend their votes. What we have been telling them going around, like you have known me for, I have been to almost all the states in the country, encouraging women to stand up and use their PVC properly. Stand up and be counted. Don't mind whether the men have value for you in appointments or not, but make sure you determine who rules Nigeria. So if you look at it, I think with the campaigns going on, the women are trooping out more. I was in Lagos. I just came back from Lagos. From Lagos, we went to Abia. From Abia, we went to Imo. From Imo, we came back here. And immediately I came back here, I began sensitizing in Abuja area towards the election. And anywhere you go, the turnout, believe me, is always 70 to 30%. Women about 70%. And they are coming out more determined this time. They are coming out to speak with their PVC this time. Remember, I went from local government to local government. Remember, I went from ward to ward. Remember, I went from polling unit to polling unit of several polling units in this country. And all I went to tell them is, don't be violent, but make sure you use your PVC. Let it count. Let's continue to vote. And even if the men don't think about us, let's think about ourselves. So I think we are doing good.
Okay, looking at the votes registered by INEC, looking at the percentage for women and men, I still see women still at that point where they still need to build up to come out en masse to participate and get to elect their choice of leadership. How else can you go out to talk to them about, I mean the strategies, aside the awareness you've created, on the day of the election, what role would your foundation be looking at for them?
This time around, the emphasis is more of vote and defend your vote. So the role of women this time will be defend your vote. Don't go away. No matter what happens, remain, let your vote count. So we are looking at the women coming out en masse, voting, remaining around, having their vote counted, and be sure that their votes are counted. Their roles are going to be observation of what INEC will be doing. If INEC will do it right or do it wrong, their role is going to be whether the military or the police are going to sell out and go wrong or go right. And we have said to ourselves, where there is need to shout, shout. Where there is need to cry, cry out. Where there is need to be happy, be happy. But we are going this time with our food in our containers, with our water in our containers. We are going to monitor. We are going to be monitors. In fact, that is the role. We are going to be monitors.
All right. INEC has raised the alarm on the allegation for political parties looking at how they're going to involve food vendors to buy votes. And they're saying that trick will not work. And I'm throwing this to you in the aspect of votes buying. How would you create the awareness for women to understand that you don't need to sell your votes before you can make your choice?
In places where we have visited, we have always told them, remember the story of Esau and Jacob. Just for a morsel of food, Esau sold his birthright. Don't be like Esau. Don't sell your birthright. Yeah, it's difficult. I was in Bauchi, and the level of poverty. I was in Yobe. I was in Borno. It is difficult to say, don't collect the money they are giving you. To be very honest, I want to be candid. It's so difficult because the level of poverty is overwhelming. People like that, what we say to them, what Women Alive say is, when you collect the money from them, vote your conscience. They come with their trader money, collect it. If it can help you to build your business, fine, but tell me honestly, what can 10,000 naira do? The people that are hungry, that have not eaten for 3 days, that have not had a good meal, that the children cannot go to school, you give them 10,000 naira. Will you honestly invest it in any business other than the business of the stomach? No. You would first of all take care of the business of the stomach. And that's what they are doing. But I can assure you, they are coming out to vote their conscience. This time around is going to be different.
Okay, let's look at political parties right now. It's a campaign period. Do you see political parties having a level playing ground for women? I'm talking about in general, especially coming from the CSO where you belong to, that are looking at gender equality.
Equality in this sense, I don't understand.
For women, basically, political parties, they're level playing field for women.
In casting their votes, you mean?
In
or in appointments,
appointments
after the elections?
Yes.
PDP has said that they are going to give women 35% to 40%. Women have said PDP give us 40%. And because PDP did it before, women believe that PDP can do it again. As for APC, I doubt if APC believes that women should be at the forefront. Where somebody says, my wife is only to look after me. Where somebody says, my wife belongs to the other room. Where somebody has not appointed women into his cabinet now, I do not believe they are ready to put women in any useful position. But there are other political parties that if they win, I believe, with the pressure that is being mounted from all over the world, if other political parties win, maybe they may do what PDP want to do. But I see PDP giving 40%. I believe it.
Okay. You sound very convincing when it comes to the People's Democratic Party being part of them, if I will use that word.
You see, like I told you, we are all about good governance. Let me be honest with you. If Buhari does something really good today, I'll praise him. I'll give him credit for it. If PDP does good, I'll praise PDP and give PDP credit for it. Yes, I'm tilted to PDP. Yeah, without apologies. But believe me, if for any reason I see that PDP is going wrong, I will stand up and I will shout that PDP is going wrong. Let me tell you something, for example, now. We have issues of illegal detentions. I was just saying on your television now that Dino Malaye was given bail on health ground. I am told he has fulfilled all the bail conditions, but he's still being held. No, that's not governance. Women Alive is against that. I am also told that the Adeonjo, the other time we went on a protest against the killings of Boko Haram, and we went to the U.S. Embassy. We are led by Deji Adeonjo. Shortly after that, he was arrested for an offense that happened in 2019, which he was tried and he was, not 2019, I'm sorry, 2009, which he was tried, discharged, and acquitted. And then he was arrested for the same offense again. Right now, as I speak to you, he's in Kano Central Prison. Why? Government like that, we will rise against them. We will talk against them. But where they go and they do the right thing, for example, if Dino Malaye was given bail yesterday, the day before, on Friday, and yesterday he met the bail conditions and he was released, I will say, well, that's the right thing to do, and they have done the right thing. But where they still keep him, I will rise up against them and say, no, this is wrong. So yes, I am PDP. Yes, I am against bad governance. I am for good governance. And that's where Women Alive stands.
All right, we've been talking about good governance and what Nigerians should be looking out for as we look up to the 2019 elections, which is just a few days to go. We'll go on this break, and when we come back, the discussion continues, and our phone lines will be open to you to make your contribution. So stay tuned. welcome back. We're still here, and it's governance today. Before we went on for that break, we spoke to you about issues around women participation in governance, the campaigns, what women are looking forward to differently. And I still have my guest in the studio, Chief Mrs. Patricia Onoja. She's the national coordinator of Women Alive Foundation. Okay, and right now I'm still bringing this to you. Don't forget our phone lines are open for you to make your contributions as well. The numbers are on your screen for you to call in. Okay, let's talk about factors militating against women that want to come out and participate. Looking at, for instance, before the party primary started, the cost for tickets, for forms. What are the factors militating women for running for political offices?
Okay. Religion is one of them.
Okay.
Money is another. Elections are very expensive. They are not cheap. All over the world, elections are expensive. And because women have been kept at the background for too long, women have not occupied positions where they can make so much money the way others do. These are issues that really draw them back. Then families. There are some families that are so archaic and believe that to date, women should not be seen. They should only be heard, which is also a big challenge. Then the environment we work in. Women do not fit into the toggery that they bring into electioneering campaigns. And so it's difficult for women. I think these are the real issues that keep women or prevent them from taking the positions they should take, especially when it comes to finances.
Okay, how would women, looking at the factors like you mentioned, religion, families being archaic, some families, and you've also mentioned money. For this election that is coming up, I know some parties made the cost of forms quite expensive. How do you think women can surmount that challenge of finances to be able to participate in governance?
If you look at it, there are some political parties too that made it completely free for some women. For women, I think PDP did. I don't want to talk about APC so much because I don't know if they did the same thing. I can't remember that. It's possible they did too. But if you take the cost of getting the forms out, what happens to the cost of running the elections itself? If you are making your banners, they are expensive. If you are making your flyers, they are expensive. If you are making your campaign trips, they are expensive. If you are mobilizing people to attend or do anything concerning the elections, they are expensive. Elections are not cheap. Look at something that is happening in this country now. Before now, it was easier to get friends who had the money to sponsor you. But right now, the moment you donate, everybody is afraid because even where you have made your money legitimately, the moment you donate to a party that is an opposition, the next day EFCC is knocking on your door. And this makes it really difficult. Women don't have that stamina. If you look at it, women all over the world are not 1/10 as corrupt as men are. So they want to hold back. I don't want to be labeled. This is difficult. The terrain is not friendly. And so those are the things that are factors that are holding women really backwards. And I doubt if it will be cleared soon, except with what PDP is saying. If PDP should win the election and they give women 40%, then the courage will begin to build the courage. Then the zeal, the determination will begin to come. And then our children, because we are the ones that tutor and train the children, will begin to nurture them into the next elections.
Okay, don't you see the fact that when the male folks see that money is an issue for finance, is an issue for women to run for office, they will take advantage of that and not even listen to the women when they even show interest?
That is why now we are saying you have a right. Stand up for your right. The biggest challenge we have, and which we are beginning to talk to ourselves about, women hardly support women. That is a big issue. If only this 52% of women will stand up and support women, we will find it easier. We went for a campaign. I went with Her Excellency Jamila Atiku. And each place we went to, before she talked, she said, please, I don't want any insults. If you are going to speak, speak on the issues. Don't speak on anything. Don't insult anybody, anything that will provoke anybody. No violence. Go and cast your vote on the days of the election. No violence, no fighting, no problem. Tell your children the same thing. We are beginning to build. Women, give your support to yourselves. We are beginning to build. So I think over time, maybe when women begin to have confidence in themselves, maybe somebody like me now, honestly, if somebody like Mrs. Atiku is standing out against any man for any election, and they say Jamila is standing out, I will look at several things. Her level of intelligence, her passion for the nation, her courage, her determination, her zeal, her, I will look at all that and I will sum it up and I will give her my vote. Whether she's I will not care about she being a woman because I know women do it better.
A lot of I'm going to bring up the issue of the 2015 election. I remember Sarah Jibri when she came out saying she went to run for office. Look at what played out. 2015
Exactly.
has come and gone, and this is 2019. We have Obi running for presidency. Do you see women acting differently this time around?
No. Honestly, I don't see women acting friendly because we have not been groomed sufficiently to get to that level. They still have that belief. And the men also that we have as husbands, they also do not believe that the women, they should encourage the women against the male folks. So we still have that issue. Until the women get to know it by themselves, until the women are properly groomed, until the women begin to say, look, this nation, we believe women can do better in it, and women begin to support women. Women, for now, I don't see women giving up the equity because she's a woman, no.
Okay, so now that we have this challenge, that is part of the factors limiting women from participating in office, how would women get into office someday with confidence that when I come out, women will support me? What can we do differently?
There is this woman called Mama Taraba. That's the popular name everybody knows, Mena. Mama Taraba is somebody that, if you go to Taraba, you will respect her. Men and women respect her. The only challenge she's having is she comes from a place where religion plays a key factor. And the men are like, if she becomes governor, men will go to bow before her. And in their religion, that is not exactly acceptable yet. I know that over time, it will be acceptable. If you escape religion and you escape the archaic nature, you will not be able to escape the men who will rise up against the woman and even make sure their women do not support the woman. So it will take a lot of time, a lot of education, a lot of patience, and honestly, the women that are also appointed into positions, they have to prove themselves. Women have to begin to work to prove themselves. Bring more women near you. Teach more women what they should do concerning other women. I think if we put all this in place, things will begin to change, but it will be a gradual process.
All right, you are there and you're watching us, and we've been talking women participation in governance, what women needs to do differently. If I get it right, women will need to be educated. Women will need to have patience. The archaic nature of families needs to also be dropped. And also, women needs to also encourage others by proving their worth when they get into office before things can change for women in politics and political offices. I hope you're there and you can contribute to a quota. Let's hear from you and know what do you think we can also add up to this list of what women should do differently. All right, Chief Mrs. Patricia Onoja, I'm sorry to call you patient, probably call the patient's word. Let's look at, you've said so much about the APC-led administration and what they do. Let's x-ray what they've done so far. Let's look at economy. Let's look at security. Let's look at infrastructure. I listened to my colleagues on radio and they mentioned some of those issues would you say the present administration has done a bit or has done, what if we were to put it in percentage, what percentage would you put leadership for them?
Have they done a bit in security, in economy? That's the question. Let me start with security. I am a mother of 8 children. And each time I wake up, I worry about all 8. I also have grandchildren. I worry about their security. I will say that this government has done very little or nothing at all about security. Every day, our military guys are killed. In fact, the target now is the military. And it is the military that offers the security to any nation. The moment the military has become a target, we have lost our security completely. I remember the day we went on protest. A lot of soldiers were killed. We didn't know. Everybody knew that so many were killed. The government never made any statement about it. The government never gave a number. It was just like nothing happened. And we later got to know that over 200 soldiers were killed. We cried out that we can no longer continue. I wept like a child. Why? I am a mother, like I told you, with 8 children, 7 boys and a girl. And it could be any of them. I wept because my children have wives. It could be their wives are being made widows and their children made orphans. I wept because the nation is becoming vulnerable. If you leave the issue of security, I come from Benue. And in Benue State, the type of killing that has gone on in Benue is such that you can no longer keep the numbers. Imagine the 72 that were buried the same day. That was a child's play compared to what happened in Agato. And this is what we have been going through. So where is the security? All over the nation. Look at Zamfara. What is happening in Zamfara? Now it's happening in Castina. It's happening in Sokoto. Yobe, honestly, I stopped at Damaturu. We went by bus and something happened. Children, Almajiri surrounded us completely immediately. I couldn't do much. I mean, with more than 40, 50 Almajiris around you, how much money will you give that will help? I couldn't do much, but my heart went out to them. A lot of them are orphaned by the insecurity of the country. And then we bought food. I had suya, I had all that. I gave to them, and they began to tear themselves over it. And I'm like, what? Then we bought food. I couldn't eat. I was so concerned. And I asked for Coke and water. I actually was going to abandon the food. As the man was bringing it and I was collecting, my plate disappeared. The children had taken the food. That is how bad the insecurity of the nation has brought poverty onto the people. That is about security. Are you secured in your house now? Can you truly say that between here and your house you are safe? Look at the number of rapes going on, the kidnappings going on. Look at the assassinations going on. It is terrible. For security, I give 0 to this administration. They have done nothing. In fact, they have worsened the security situation. Look at the man who is in charge of the army, the chief of army. I'm sure if he sits back, he asks himself, he will say that he has not fared well. He doesn't need anybody to tell him the truth. He must tell himself that truth. Then you are talking about the economy. I will ask you, are you living better this time than you were maybe 4 or 5 years ago? We should actually be improving in our lives. If you were living in a 2-bedroom house, after 5 years, you should be able to, in a 1-bedroom house, you should be able to move to a 2-bedroom house. These days, if I have tenants in my house, they are all owing me rents. They do not have the money to pay. You send children to school these days, you send them without school fees. Now the schools have even accepted you paying instrumentally. It didn't used to be like that in those days because of the economic situation. How much is it? They say this thing is inflation has been brought down to 11 point something percent. It went up to 19 point something percent. How did they get the measurement of inflation at 11 point something percent? I honestly do not know yet. Because rice used to be 7,000 naira a bag. At Christmas, I bought rice at 21,000 naira a bag. They said the local rice is everywhere. And then I also said, okay, how much is a bag of the local rice? And a bag is 17,000 naira. So even the rice that they say they are producing, where is the rice? The economic situation, I gave this government 0%. They have not done anything. They have worsened our situation.
So what would you say about infrastructure?
Infrastructure. Let me talk about railways. And let me talk about the airport. The railway, according to the Minister of Transportation, Amechi, one time I heard him say it, that Goodluck Jonathan did about 85% of the railway between here and Kaduna. I heard him say so. But when they were commissioning it, there was no reference that was made to Goodluck Jonathan. It was claimed as their project. So maybe they put in 25%, but I read and I discovered that the whole cost was paid and nothing was left. It was just that it was not completed in his time. And remember, government is a continuum. You do not begin and finish. You don't necessarily have to begin and finish. I begin today and I go, you come, you continue. So if they did the 15%, then they have the 15%. I don't know their books. I don't have the records of their books. But I listened to Amechi when he said 85% was done by Goodluck Jonathan. That initial time that he came. But at the later stage, they celebrated it as said it is their achievement. The airport. I travel a lot, so I know the airport. And I know that the new airport, most of the airports that they went into partnership with the Chinese government, what was due for Nigeria to pay, Nigeria paid completely. And they are just finishing the jobs. They talked about road. I went from Lagos I came from Lagos to Abuja by road. I have come severally. And I have seen some portions that they are working on. I cannot say they have not done anything at all on those portions of the road. They have done some things, but very minimal. Then I have traveled from here to Enugu and to Port Harcourt, and the roads are worse off than they have ever been. And so when they begin to show pictures and say the roads are done and they have done how many kilometers, and I am like, wow. I just came back from the east and the roads are terrible. Portions little here and little there are done, no doubt. But it is nothing to give credit for.
Okay. All right. We've been listening to my guests, and we had to x-ray and talk about what the leadership of the APC with the present administration, as we're counting down to the elections, are doing to see if they have fared. We're looking at the issue of economy and security, what's been happening with them. And she's rated them 0%, that little or nothing, apart from infrastructure, which said little here and there have been done. But I'm still going to come back to you. With the build up to the election, and then looking at what the APC has put in front, that they're coming to consolidate on the change, and also what they've promised Nigeria since 2015. What would you make of that?
I told you earlier that I have 7 sons and a daughter. At a point in my house, myself and my first son were the only PDP supporters. And I will tell you the reason. I come from a very remote village where we never imagined our roads would be done. And then suddenly, contract was awarded for the doing for our roads, and the road work began. And it was awarded to PWU. And the road, the quality of road they did was fantastic. They got to a level, and Goodluck Jonathan left office. And that road has been abandoned till today, Akpanya Road in Kogi State. Nobody has come again to that road, and it's a debt trap. The Goodluck Jonathan government also, we never had borehole in Akpanya, not one. A big community. Then suddenly they came and they gave us 5 boreholes at once. And suddenly we became people that had water everywhere. Now, after the Goodluck Jonathan administration left, 1 or 2 of the boreholes had issues. As I speak to you today, they have not been fixed. We have written, we have cried out, but they have not been fixed. If you leave that and you now begin to talk about their promises, my children then said they were voting for Say Baba. In fact, it is one of my sons that coined Say Baba. And the area where we lived, everybody moved with Say Baba and supported Baba wholeheartedly. It got to a point I was like an alien in the community with my husband and my son, one of my sons. Now, they promise heaven and earth. They promise that I said to my children, what the old person sits down and sees, you that is standing on top of the Iroko will not see it. I know this administration. I am 60 years old. I know what the government of Buhari was the first time and what the government of Buhari will be the second time. But nobody wanted to listen. All my children supported him, except one. Today, all of them are against him. Every one of them. The reason is because of all the promises they made and they never kept them. They promised electricity. They lie every day that electricity has improved. Where I am coming from, the house I live in, we had light, about 24 hours ago. Light has not come at all. Sometimes it goes for 3 days and it doesn't come. And then sometimes it comes for a day and then we are like, thank God. Let me tell you something about the economy and their promises. Yesterday I had 1,800 home and abroad. I'm not ashamed to say it. That's what the economy of Nigeria is today. 1,800 naira, and I'm like, what do I do? I had to sit down to see the priorities. Electricity is one of them. I had to take 1,500 to buy petrol. I had 300 naira left. I bought 200 naira okra. I had just 100 naira left. And that is how yesterday went, because I had to have light. If you look at it again, and you look at the economic situation and you bring it to the promises of the government, they say 1 meal a day for each child in school. Have you gone to any school where they are feeding the children? Have you seen any? Anyone you see, it is rubbish. And I can assure you, if there are 100 schools, they will pick one school to make a statement. And then they give them a little bread, and then they say they have fed them. Is that the feeding they promise us? Is that where the money they are saying is going to? If you leave that, and then you look at their promises on health. I was in the hospital some time ago. My last child is a medical doctor. I was in the hospital with him. I was going for a process in the theater, and I was waiting for the doctor. And they brought a child, and the child was convulsing, a 12-year-old girl. The mother and the father held him. He was all stretched out. And it was their fasting time. They are Muslims. I was sitting down and I saw the child, and my heart went to the child. I said, quickly, quickly, run with the child. When did it start? You know, heart of a mother. And they said it started around 12 midnight. And the child was still convulsing at 8:30 a.m. They ran to the emergency. And then they say they should deposit 50,000 naira. I don't want to call the name of the hospital. And then they didn't have the money. And so they were taking the child away. The mother was crying. What happened? I was scared. I thought the girl was dead. And then they say, no, not that she was dead, but that they say they should pay 51,000 naira. How much do you have? 3,000 naira. To the glory of God, I was able to pay that money that day. It's not like I have money. It's not like I am rich. But God arranged it in a manner that I had that money that day. So I paid the 51,000 naira. And then there were some other people that were sitting down with me, some other Muslims. And they were like, this is why Nigeria will never be divided. And let me tell you, that is the truth. Nigeria will never be divided, especially on religious ground. Because I grew up in a community where it was all Muslims. And we could walk to anybody's house and eat and be free. That is what Nigeria must continue to be.
Okay, let's pick the call. Hello, good evening.
Hello?
Good evening, what's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Michigan, local government, Adamawa State.
All right, from Michigan and Adamawa State. Go ahead. What's your name? What's your name?
My name is Benjamin Emmanuel Patricia.
All right, Benjamin, let's hear you. What's your contribution?
What this woman is saying the right thing. Even myself, 2016, I was saying, Baba. I thought Baba would do good for us. As I'm talking to you, I'm not happy at all. I'm not happy at all. We are told that this Baba, 100%. They are failure. What is it?
So what would you do for women? Because we've been talking women participation. If women, can you turn down the volume of your TV first? Okay, you will need to turn down the volume of your TV so I can hear you. But Benjamin from Adamawa there, if you can hear me, I'm asking, what would you do to support women in governance? Let's pick this. Hello, good evening. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, good evening. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I am Julius. I will be calling from Benue State.
All right, Julius from Benue State. Go ahead.
What this lady is saying, she don't understand maybe what is going on. As we speak, she's talking about privatization of electricity. It's the past government that privatized electricity, not the present government. So if she's getting a problem with electricity, she better consult the distributors, not the federal government.
Okay.
That's one. She's talking about feeding. She's talking about feeding in the primary schools.
Go ahead. Hello, Julius. Go ahead.
So, what she's saying, she don't understand.
All right, Julius. Thank you so much. Well, she didn't say if one government privatized or not. She was talking about the issue of power supply at home and the challenges around that. I don't know if you want to add something to that.
Julius, I think you didn't hear me right. Let me not say you are biased. I won't say so. You didn't hear me right. I said the issue of electricity, there hasn't been improvement. Because in the locality where I live, like even in my own community, for example, for 2 years we have not seen electricity. And that is the truth. I'm not just talking. I am speaking the truth. In 2 years, we haven't seen electricity. Then where I live here, we have not, light is very unstable. In the last 24 hours, I have not had light in my house.
Okay.
And I stand by that electricity is not doing well.
All right. Hello. Good evening. This should be our last call because we're out of time. Hello. Good evening. Good evening. What's your name? Good evening. Okay, I think we lost that. We are out of time, but just in few words, totally, women participation, the governance of the APC so far, what should be our conclusion? Let's hear you.
I think every woman, I make bold to say, should stand up for each other. Women should stand up for women. Let's begin to practice it. Let's begin to educate ourselves on it. Because women are better managers than men are. Then if you are talking about the APC government, I am saying, and I am saying it with all emphasis, that the APC government has failed. All my 7 children and all the people in the community that voted for APC with so much vehemence have all gotten up in the same community to say never again. I am also saying that this time let us vote for value, let us vote for quality, let us not take promises hook, line and sinker. Let us stand up and know what we are doing. I am saying that it is time for women to have their 40% affirmation.
All right, there you have it. It is time for women to have their 40% affirmative action come the elections in 2019. And if you've heard us so far, it's been your program Governance Today, and we've been talking so much about women participation in governance, political offices, and we've extracted the this present administration. I don't know why I keep calling them the last administration, and what they have done so far. And we hope to do this again. Thank you so much, Chief Mrs. Patricia Onoja, for coming on.
Thank you for
we
having
hope to
me.
have you next time.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, and all right, and this is where we call it a wrap today. My name is Anita Patrick. Let's do this again on Governance Today. Have a lovely evening.